Back with another tasting from Vlad over at the Bottle Split Society, and I'm only a month and a half late. Hi there, my name is Lewis. Welcome to the Neckpour. This is the whiskey review channel where I give you my thoughts and opinions on a particular bottle of whiskey from the Neckpour all the way down to the Dregs, certain tasting packs, or just my thoughts and opinions on whiskey. You join me here today as we taste through the SMWS April tasting pack from the Bottle Split Society. This is one I'm super excited to get into. I've had very, very little Scotch Malt Whisky Society bottlings, but those that I have had, I've thought were absolutely incredible. Got a really good lineup in front of us here. I'm really excited to get into it. So yeah, let's rip straight in. We've got 5 drams here in front of us today, ranging from, we've got 3 unpeated, 2 peated. So we go unpeated, going up in strength, then peated, going up in strength, just so I don't blow my palate out on these ones first and can't taste these, or vice versa. So we're going to start with this one. It's the oldest dram we're trying today, and it's Fruit Utopia. This is one of the Heresy series. It's a 25-year-old unnamed Speyside, and it's been matured in a sort of cognac style. So it's been matured in a bourbon cask, then into virgin oak, and then back into bourbon. So a really interesting way of sort of doing things, trying things from sort of another spirit category, and also trying it with something that's pretty old, you know? It's pretty interesting, pretty risky. But yeah, let's see what this is like on the nose. Very light, to be honest. Not what I was expecting. Super creamy, super buttery, actually. Not creamy. That smells like melted butter. Alcohol's wonderfully integrated, so this is at 50%. There's almost nothing there. A little bit of wood, but not too much. And a little bit of strawberry I'm getting on this, actually. It's very, very interesting. But let's give it a taste. To me, that strawberry just doubles down. Could be strawberry, could be raspberry, but it's a super sweet red fruit, packed full of ice cream, a little bit of black pepper sprinkled on top. The palate is absolutely stunning on that. That's the kind of whiskey I could drink every day. Then through to the finish. Leather, old books, cigar wood, wet tobacco, beautiful age. Really, really nice. Again, plenty of astringency, plenty of dry wood tannins from that virgin oak and from all that time in bourbon. That's just a very, very sophisticated dram to begin with. Decadent, rich, lovely. And 2 halves. You've got the kind of lightier, fruitier start, nose and palate, going through to that really dark, deep, rich finish. And that's just, yeah, very, very keen on that. That's really good stuff. And yeah, certainly something, if I saw a bottle of that available, I'd be very interested. Then we're on to this one, 5.132. Honey Buns is the name they give to this one. This is a Auchentoshan, 20 years old, Lowland. The only thing they didn't state anywhere, I had a little look online about this one, is if it was triple distilled Auchentoshan or not. Because I know they do sometimes do only double distilled, but I'm assuming it probably is triple distilled. We're expecting, certainly at that age, a super soft Lowland here. Again, so light. That must be triple distilled. Plenty of age, so everything's just mellowed down beautifully. Lemon sherbet. fresh sliced pears, and sitting in the garden after cutting the grass on a hot summer's day. Again, 54%, but you could swim in there. You could absolutely swim in there. There's no issue at all with any prickle. Lovely, lovely nose. Quite a bit spicier on the palate, actually, than the nose there. A bit of tingle, bit of heat. That's not at all what I was expecting. That's really that's hot. That's really hot in the mouth. And there's lots of more grainier notes to that. There's almost a kind of chili heat, a spicy heat, a peppery heat. And yeah, that's not at all. I'm completely blown away by that, actually, because the nose and the palate are so disconnected there. Quite artificial on the palate, almost sort of saccharin, icing sugar, or marshmallows dusted in icing sugar is what I'm getting on that. Because it's sweet, but it's kind of fruity, but it's kind of fake fruity, and then a big whack of icing sugar, and then that spice comes through and really bites. That's really spicy. And then the finish, I can see the honey buns because it gets into bakery sweet. I'd have gone with a more sort of caramel or a maple syrup because it gets a little bit woodier. I could see a brioche dipped in honey. I can certainly see that. I can see the name there. But I'm not sure I like that, actually. And there's no way I'd have guessed that was 20 years old at all, based on the palate. The nose, absolutely, because it's soft, it's gentle, it's lovely, it's mellowed out. But that palate is really weird. I'll be off camera, I'll probably try a little bit more of it, maybe with a little bit of water mixed in there. Might coax a bit more life out of it, a bit more enjoyment. But that's odd stuff. Move on to the next. This is 8.51, known as The Gathering. It's a 9-year-old Tamdu. We're getting pretty strong here, 59.5%. So right up there. Sherry cask. I'm guessing we're looking for a bit of younger, livelier, punchier sherry here. Let's give it a smell. Yeah, that nose is everything this one isn't. Whereas that's gentle, light, and fragrant. Big, dark, and rich. This has got a bit of edge on the nose. You can smell that it's nearly 60%. There's a bit of tingle right at the back of the nose there. You can get you couldn't be too long in there, I don't think. But a lovely, deep, rich, almost colour on the nose. I know that's a silly thing to say, but it smells dark. Buckets of fruits, buckets of spices, little sprinkling of coffee, little sprinkling of dark chocolate is what I'm getting there. All in all, very good nose, nice sticky look. So let's give it a taste. Ooh. Big, thick, sticky, rich. That's the sensation on the palate is something that until you've tried, strong cask strength, heavily sherried whiskies, it's very hard to describe. but just instantly your whole mouth is soaked in flavour. The tannins are drawing out saliva from every bit of your mouth, and it's just all over and right down to your chest. It does everything you expect from a cask strength 100% sherry tamdo. It's lovely. Spices, heaps. Dried fruits, heaps. Cake, heaps. Very, very good palate. And then through to the finish, gets a bit more astringent, a bit more drying. And there's just a real undercurrent of sweetness just riding all the way through it. That just ties the whole thing together for a very, very good dram. Big fan of that. Certainly overtaken that one. Not sure whether it beats this Fruit Utopia though, because they are opposite sides of a spectrum, but both still very, very good. But I think it's about time we brought Pete to the table. We'll start with this one. It's another one from the Heresy series. This is the Underwater Barbecue. It's a 12-year-old blend of Orkney and Islay. One in bourbon, one in sherry. It's got one of the best bottle designs I've ever seen. I think it's absolutely wicked looking. Really appealed to me. But it's what's inside that counts. Got a lovely colour from that sherry coming through. And yeah, let's see how we smell for this one. It's a really interesting nose. That Orkney's got to be Highland Park because there's fresh cut heather all over this. But then there's a little hint of that rubbery TCP, that Islay coming through. And to be honest, I'm not sure that's a Kalila. I know most things with unnamed Islay are Kalila. That smells more Lefroy Lagavulin to me. Because I'm getting that hospital rubber TCP quite strongly. Wet balloons, all that kind of stuff. And then there's a real sweet note at the bottom, almost kind of sickly. It's so sweet from the sherry and maybe a little bit from the bourbon there. But that's very, very good on the nose. Again, 50%. And let's see how it tastes. Ashy, very ashy. Cleaning out a fireplace. That day-old ash. But super clean. Super, super clean. So maybe it's not. Maybe it is Kalila. Maybe it is something that's less medicinal. Just smells a bit medicinal on the nose. But he doesn't taste it at all. I'm not getting any sherry on the palate at all, to be honest. I'm getting a little bit of cream, a little bit of vanilla, those kind of things. Maybe even going as far as a little bit of coconut, actually. But yeah, it's ashy peat. It's floral, fresh cut flowers, and just a lovely kind of creaminess on the back end. Then going through to the finish, gets ashier and ashier and ashier. Gets more like cleaning out a barbecue than it does cleaning out a fireplace, because there's almost a bit of food fat in there. There's a bit of, gets a little bit more dirty right at the back end. Those dark fruits from the cherry start coming through, almost like you've burnt a cake, something like that. and you're cleaning out a burnt cake that's been cooked on a barbecue, and you start getting a little bit of salty sea air just right at the end. That is very, very nice. And finally, onto the last dram. This is one that I've never actually tried before. It's 122.73. Captivating and Enthralling is its name. It's a 12-year-old Crofton Gay, which is heavily peated Loch Lomond. It's not anything I've tried before. Big strength on this one. Again, 59.5. And pale as you like. So this must be refill bourbon that it's been in, I'd have thought, just based on that colour, because that is completely see-through. So I'm expecting plenty of peat on this, to be honest. I'm expecting this one to be pretty punchy. But yeah, let's have a smell. I'm not getting anything there, peat-wise. Not compared to that. That's super, super light. That almost smells more like new mate than it does like heavily peated whiskey. There might be a little kind of wet cardboard dirtiness. But I'm not getting much peat on that at all. That to me smells like a sort of traditional unpeated West Coast whiskey. Salty sea air. Yeah, a little bit of wet cardboard. And a little bit of kind of overripe fruits. It smells strong. I'm getting all 60% or 59.5% there. But that's, yeah, not at all what I was expecting. I thought all Crofton Gay was the super heavily peated Loch Lomond. But yeah, as I say, I'm struggling to get any peat at all on the nose. So let's give it a taste and see what we think. Pretty hot on the palate, but so light it's almost fizzy, almost effervescent there. Very light. Again, quite floral. Again, quite citrusy. Lemons, fresh cut flowers. A little bit of, again, like a almost industrial kind of flavour. Like the smell of, the taste almost like the smell of petrol or something. Something that smells really good, but you know is bad for you. It's what there's a taste of something that's almost forbidden there. I don't quite know how to describe it. But yeah, lemon zest, lemon rind, fresh flowers, super, super light. And then a big pow of spice coming through at the back and boozy heat. Moving on to the finish though, it mellows right down. You're getting lots of soft florality. There's almost freshly dug earth, but that super clean, super dry earth, not wet, muddy clay. We're talking a dry, sandy, really fresh soil that's full of nutrients and life. It smells good. There's lots of, again, citrus juice over something cooked beautifully. It's a really, really interesting finish there. Very good, and not at all what I was expecting. That almost feels like it should be there between this one and this one between the Fruit Utopia and the Auchentoshan, because it's so wonderfully light. And for something that's apparently heavily peated, I'm just going to double check I've definitely got the bottles in the right order, which I certainly have. I'm blown away by that. But you know, here's to not making assumptions before you taste it. So I think 4 out of the 5 of these are very accomplished, very good whiskies. For me, that's a total miss, Auchentoshan. No stunning, but the minute it gets to the palate or the finish, it's not for me. I don't know what's happened to that over the 20 years, but it's been bad. Let's put it that way. Tamdhu's great. Really good stuff. If you want a youngish, big sherry bomb, couldn't go far wrong with that. Absolutely lovely stuff, if that's what you're in the mood for. The same with this one, the Underwater Barbecue. If you want to punch peat, but in a very clean way, you could go much, much further wrong than that. Again, very, very good stuff. But for me, these two on the end are the absolute killers here. The Crofton Gay is light, it's luxurious, but there's plenty of interest there. Lots of citrus, lots of zest, very zesty, very oily, really good stuff, big strength, punchy. Or if you want something a little bit softer, this Fruit Utopia is just a very elegant, very refined dram. But it's 5 whiskies I'm really glad I've tried. So big shout out to the Bottle Split Society. I'll drop the details of how to join the WhatsApp group down in the comments below. Please do consider it if you're in the UK. If you're not in the UK, I think it's a little bit harder for you. Probably wouldn't bother. But these 5 drams for £33.65 delivered. They're all 50 mils. I'll be going back to all of them after tonight. And they're all okay-ish, apart from this one. But there's 4 really good whiskies there and 1 weird one. But you can't please everyone with everything. That was actually the one I was most excited about going into the tasting. But, you know, who's to say? I think, though, that's where we'll leave this one for today. I'd firstly like to say thank you all so much for joining me here today. It really means a huge amount to me that you take time out of your busy schedules to spend a little bit of your day with me. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like down below. If you've got any thoughts and opinions on this particular lineup, you've tried any of them, or anything from SMWS in general, or anything you'd like to see me review, drop it in the comments below. I'll be sure to get back to you. And if you really have enjoyed the video, please do consider hitting the subscribe and that notification bell so you're informed next time I post. It really does mean the world to me. But other than that, until the next time, I'd just like to say again, thank you so much for joining me here today. And until then, cheers, Sláinte, and I'll see you again.